Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Digital Toolbox Podcast. My name is Emmanuel Tejada. I own a digital marketing agency called Landscape Maverick. Today, my guest is Darren Huffer or Huffer. How do I say it, Darren?
Huffer, like
Huffer.
pupper, yeah.
Boom, let's go. Darren, introduce yourself, man. Let's go. Let's do it.
My name's Darren, aka the Bearded Landscaping Cowboy. Been landscaping for roughly 25 years. I mean, it started out with mowing lawns, and it's just escalated into just landscaping only. So,
Man, landscaping only. So we'll talk about all that too, man. But I got to ask you something very important, Darren. What does it mean when you post on your bio? It says, landscaper in OKC who's addicted to music, dancing, and positivity. Tell me all about that.
I mean, music's my drug of choice. Live music, especially going to concerts, and that's the one thing outside of family that really like. It's like my one vice. Like I just look forward to every chance I get to go, and then obviously dancing. I mean, two-stepping or just dancing to music in general, which obviously ties into positivity. I mean, you can't dance and not have a good time and be positive, but
That's true.
the positivity part of it, I'm super big on mental health, and just being positive, stay positive. I mean, anybody that owns a business, I mean, you really hit some rock bottoms and just some really hard times, and you really have to start looking for the silver lining and everything, and just try and be positive to anything and everything that happens to you, but not only that, but try to reach out and pull others up that are struggling.
100% agree with you, especially on the entrepreneur side of things. Yeah, man, because it's all on you at the end of the day. And we're gonna head on each one of those topics individually. So let's start with the music there. And so, like, what type of music do you listen to? I know you're a big country guy. I love that hat you got on right now. But like, what specifically type of music do you like?
And right now, my number one would be Charles Wesley Godwin. I just got to see him last week, so if you don't listen to him, definitely check him out. From there, I mean, everybody's favorite Zach Bryan. I really don't like pop country, so I steer clear of Morgan Wallen and all the music pro, pop country stuff. Yeah, I mean, anything from Paul Coffin to the oldies, the greats, the Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker Band. I mean, you can't without throwing out, Johnny Cash and Willie Whalen and Hank Williams, Dwight Yoakam. Just I really listen to
You throwing out some real OGs,
yeah.
Man. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm actually, believe it or not, and a lot of people in the audience may not believe it. I actually like country music. I do. I have a very taste. Sometimes I'll get so bored of regular pop music. I'm like, all right, I want to listen to some country. I want to put on some Toby Keith, or I'll put on some George Strait. And I like those guys. I like those a lot. Sometimes would you consider Florida Georgia Line pop country or even like just regular pop?
Yeah. They're the ones that kind of revolutionized the bro country. So,
Yeah, those guys, they are the ones that originally put me on. Funny story, I think I was like 12 years old. I was playing, I think I had like a PlayStation playing games as a kid. I had like an online girlfriend and she was from Tennessee and she would like tell me to put on these songs and that's how I got introduced to Florida Georgia Line. Yeah. Just a quick story. And then
can't go wrong with Post Malone. He's doing some country stuff, and I love musicians out there, talented musicians.
Yes, that is true. And then I have Justin Waller to thank for putting me on to Toby Keith and George Strait.
Yep. Yeah, legends.
Yep. And then, man, so let's touch on dancing. So what do you dance? Do you dance any type of music? I know you got the cowboy boots on, and we'll talk about that too. But what type of music do you dance to?
I mean, it's got to be a good two-stepping beat, but I mean, try to go out at least once a month to any country bar and just take my old lady two-stepping. But it can even be just dancing around the house with my little girl whenever, a song comes on. She really likes learning the dances to like Beyonce's Texas Hold'em. There's another one that's new that's kind of like that one, but I try to learn the songs with her as like a daddy-daughter just time together because she's 10 and she does cheer and dance, and she just loves dancing as well. So we try to
She got that from
dance
you,
together.
probably, man.
Yep.
That's awesome. And let's also touch on the positivity. You said you're into a lot of mental health, a lot of self improvement. So can we talk a little bit about that? Your routines, your habits around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm 41, and I didn't start a healing journey until about 3 years ago. And I never thought I really suffered from trauma because I always thought trauma was physical or sexual, which I never suffered from. Mine was emotional or lack thereof. My dad was an alcoholic. We have a family history of alcoholism, and he was the greatest man. I mean, I put him up there with John Wayne, like just a man's man. And I mean, I got really, really good traits from him, like my hard work ethic, just being a gentleman to women, just being a man. But as I slowly was getting older and older from 13, 18, he slowly started just vanishing. So I never really got that, every boy needs a father to really, really, bring them up and show them how to be a man. And so I didn't really have him. And then my mom was, dealing with all that. And so you never really learn how to express your emotions, control your emotions, and all that. And so when I started that healing journey, it just really opened my eyes of what all men, especially really in the blue collar industry, go through. We're working our butts off, breaking our back, 60, 70 hours a week. And all men want to do is be appreciated and validated for what they're doing. I mean,
Right.
and a lot of times we turn to the bottle, we turn to drugs, we turn to all these things to fill a hole inside of us. And it wasn't until I started doing counseling, personal counseling, that really opened my eyes, and I really reduced to my drinking to the point where I almost don't drink at all. And just from that, I see others coming up behind me, or even that are companies that are bigger than me, that are failing and falling because they fall to the addictions. And I try to be their supportive, hey, you don't need to, you need to turn to something positive, whether it's dancing, meditation, counseling, just something that is a positive instead of a negative.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of that, Darren, and I agree 1000% with you, especially in the blue collar world. Um, that's a big thing. Like where I'm from here in New Jersey, like I see it all the time. Like got some Mexican guys, and they're amazing people. They're hard workers. Mexicans, Hispanic, all types of Hispanics, people from different countries, and they just come and drink together. And I would imagine it's because a lot of their loved ones are still back home, and they're here all alone, and they go to work, they come home, they go to work, come home, and this kind of a space, like you mentioned, that's just not filled. So if there's somebody like that, I mean, what's the first step that you would recommend for somebody to get better from that? What type of would you recommend for getting into working out, or what activities do you think?
Oh yeah, I would definitely. I mean, working out is probably, if I'm having a really hard rough day. I mean, I used to come home and I need a drink, I need a beer, and I would go popping. I mean, I didn't drink,
Hmm.
a 12 pack or 18 pack or anything, but I'd have two or three, and it was becoming almost every day where I would need it to help wind myself down. But when I bought a home gym, and I really started hammering down on working out, and that has been the best thing by far. That has really, really helped with my stress levels decreasing.
Wow. Wow, that must be a great feeling, right? Because I myself, I hardly drink. I drink when I go out with the boys, for example. But right now, I'm in the middle of 75 hard, which includes no alcohol. So I haven't drank in like over a month and a half, and to me, it's nothing. But I can imagine what it probably feels like to come home and want that. Just like you need it. Like it's like your body's calling you to open up the fridge. Get a couple of maybe a six pack out of the fridge and sit on the couch and man, what's that like? I mean, does it help you relax, or do you think it's a placebo, or what do you think?
Yeah, it really just gets all that, I mean, negative energy and stress out of you. When you work out, and it just releases all those oxytoxins and, good, I'm pretty sure it's oxytocin. I'd have to look it up again, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just releases
It
all
is.
those good things inside of you that just reduces your stress levels. I mean, there's, there's nothing like either whether it's running or throwing weights around, but it's just you're gonna get all your stress level out. And especially, I mean, anybody that not only owns a company but works in landscaping, really any trade, I mean, there's not one day that you're just gonna have like a perfect day, nothing goes wrong. Every day there's a fire put out, there's a grenade thrown on your schedule, trucks are going down, machines are going down, flat tires, just it's every day there's something to deal with.
Yeah, for sure, and especially as an owner. And let's talk a little bit about that, Darren. Actually, so you own Tender Lawn Care. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? About your company, how many guys you guys are, what you guys specialize in?
Yeah, so I started when I was 15 years old, just pushing a lawnmower up and down the street. And just like any lawn company that starts, it's, you have 3 yards, then you have 6 yards, and it's 12, and you just keep doubling, doubling, doubling until, you're so hungry for work. And then you finally hit a point where you're like, crap, like I've got too much work. So over the course of 25 years, I added weed control, but finally got busier and busier with just landscaping, which is my passion, where I was able to get rid of lawn mowing and weed control altogether, where I just landscape only. I did get to the point where I had, 6 crews, 2 lawn mowing crews, 2 weed control crews, and 2 landscaping crews. And I realized I was spreading myself too thin and quality was just, going downhill. So I pulled back and now I'm just 2 landscaping crews, 2 crews of 3, and I've got a shop manager that kind of helps keep things in order, supply runs. So just a total of 7 guys. I went down from about 18 to 7 and making more money now, and my stress level is a lot less too. So moral of the
Wow,
story is bigger's not
whoa,
always better.
you made more money by tightening up the crew.
Yep.
Tell us more a little bit about that. How does one go about doing that, and why is it that you are able to make more money now with less
I mean,
people?
when you've got that many coals in the fire, you're constantly fixing things. You've got things going wrong. But when you focus on one thing and you do that one thing great, you become more efficient at it. You're just when you focus on one thing, I guess you just really you're not spreading yourself too thin because I mean it was just we weren't really making as much money as we should on like certain mowing or weed control. Now, not to say that you can't make money in those, but if you're going to do it, you've got to just pick one. I mean, just pick weed control and just go all out with that and really become efficient at it, where you're running this just smooth, well greased, well oiled machine. Whereas when you've got those all 3 different things, I mean, you're going all over the place and you're making mistakes, and those mistakes cost you money. And when you just really really simplify and do one thing, you'd be surprised at how much more money you can make when you're, I mean, like I said, running efficiently and your quality control's up. You don't have upset customers. And it's just it's the way to go. Stay small, stay happy.
Stay small, stay happy. And also just to clarify too for myself and the audience, when you say that your passion is landscaping, what do you include in that, right? Because I know sometimes there's confusion. I know a lot of lawn care guys would consider landscaping to be, putting down mulch, putting down flower beds, or would you consider that more lawn care?
So lawn care, I consider lawn care as mowing, maybe trimming bushes, just your general maintenance, pulling weeds. Landscaping is just you know big trees, just full on, whether it's a blank canvas starting from nothing to building a landscape, coming in and completely redoing a landscape. But just I don't know if you can see all my trees and bushes behind me, but I've basically got a personal nursery. But yeah,
Oh, is that what you
anything
have?
plants, just yeah, flower bed borders, flower bed installs, and now we still do trimming bushes, maintenance. We'll do monthly maintenance for customers, but our biggest, thing is just coming in and doing a really, really big job. Both crews, we come in and just, bring in loads of soil, bring all the plants in. We're doing the drainage, we're doing the irrigation, just one stop shop for, from start to finish, turnkey landscape.
Man, that is awesome. I don't think I've actually heard of that just yet. So you have your own nursery for trees, plants, and how do you keep those alive? I mean, do you just grow as many as you can, or
So actually, we purchase directly from the growers. So we basically skip over the middleman, the retail nursery. So instead of running down the street to the local nursery and paying full price, I'm buying at wholesale, sitting on it until we need it for a job. But what the best part of that is, like I said, talked about earlier, being efficient, is we can grab everything we need to from my shop and go instead of wasting an hour or two each day trying to pick up all the product from, you know, plants from the nursery, rock from the rock store, mulch, whatever it is. I've got pallets of mulch, I've got pallets of rock, I've got everything that we possibly need here ordered in bulk, which also doubles the profit you make per job.
you're one sneaky man there, and I gotta give it to you. So how does that work then? So you pretty much cut out the middleman, being like either the nursery or the rock supplier or the mulch supplier. You cut everybody out, really. You just go straight to the supplier.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So does that mean that you're forced to buy in excess bulk, like a huge amount of
Yeah, there's
mulch,
typically
trees,
a
and rock?
minimum of like anywhere from 3 to 5,000, but it took a few years to get to that point where I was only ordering like once or twice a year. Where now we've got a just constant rotation of once a month of just fresh stuff coming in, and I honestly I can hardly keep
Really?
stuff in stock. It's just as soon as it's coming in, it's going out, and I'm already having to make a new order. Yeah, so I'm gonna try and figure out like a inventory system where we can maybe start scanning that it'll like keep track better and like where it'll automatically like order or something, because about once a month we have to come in and really like do a inventory count, which takes time. And
Man, that's awesome though. That's the first time that I hear of that. Like you have your own nursery, you're cutting out the middleman. Is that something that you would recommend for other guys? I mean, but then again though, a lot of people don't really have a shop that big, right? I mean, a lot of guys just have a couple trucks and they may have it in a yard, but they may not have enough space to be able to put trees and mulch and rock, plus the dirt too, to be like the soil to be able to plant those plants that you have, right?
oh yeah, and it's definitely been I mean, a lot of people see what I have and what I built, and I'm like, Rome wasn't built in one night. I mean, it's taken year after year of just slowly getting to where I'm 25 years later. I've got 3 shops. I stumbled upon a blessing of God's land, 10 acres, where I've got room to store all of this. Whereas, like you said, a lot of companies, they've only got enough to store their truck and trailers and their equipment. So, I mean, the ultimate goal for anyone should be to, instead of leasing, because I think if I leased this setup I have, I mean, it would run me probably close to $8,000 or $9,000 a month, and that's just money in my pocket. Whereas if I was renting a commercial, lease property of doing something like this, I mean, that's what, roughly $100,000 a year that I'm keeping in my pocket.
Right. And then I don't know if it appreciates in value over time or not, because there's no property there, is there?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I purchased this 10 acres for $80,000 and put the shops on it. I mean, I probably put my finger on it that it's roughly worth 600,000 about 12 or 15 years later.
600,000? You say you bought it for 8,000?
$80,000.
80,000. Okay, gotcha. And when you bought that, can you walk us through that actually? That's quite interesting. So you bought the 10 acre how many acres is it?
10 acres.
10 acres, and do you pay, I'm sure it's paid off by now, right?
Oh yeah, yep. Everything that I purchase is paid in full, and except for one truck, but everything else I pay.
Wow,
Yeah,
man, congrats there, and holy crap, that's awesome. And with land, when you buy land, do you still pay property tax on that too?
yeah, and it's just the value of the property. And I want to say, I mean, I think here it's maybe gone up to about 1,200 a year.
Gotcha. And that's pennies on, yeah, that's not, man, and you get to have 10 acres. Wow. That's
Yep.
that's incredible.
10 acres of
And
God's country.
and my next question is gonna be, so when you let's say that when you first started cutting out the middleman when it comes to plants, right? Where do you just plant those? Like, do you have the right type of soil there to be able to just plant those right into the ground? Not too
We
complicated.
basically built a like a little area, and we brought in like good soil. So once we've staged them like in rows, and then we bring in composted soil to just bury them until we're ready to use them to pull them out. And then we've run irrigation where it's automated, where it just waters once every 2 or 3 days. We'll increase in the summer when it's hotter, but where we don't have to do anything.
Man, you guys are living the life, Darren. Man, that is
Automate
cool.
everything you possibly can.
Man, that is awesome. That is awesome. Just having that there. Like, imagine, oh man, I'm sure a lot of the landscapers that are listening to this are resonating with this, right? 'Cause that's a big deal. Like, instead of you having to leave a job site to go on the side of town, you just go right back to your shop and you just, oh, whoop, pick up a couple plants, throw them in the truck. On your way back, you don't have to pay anybody, no transaction fee, nothing like that. You just pick it up and go.
Yep.
Wow, that is awesome, man. That is awesome.
So not just
And there,
that saves
mhm.
time, where instead of being able to do say one job a day, you're able to squeeze in an extra job because you're saving hour 2 hours a day. So you're just increasing efficiency and just making more money each day.
Literally, man, that is awesome. And how do you guys stay organized, right? Because you said you have, I believe you said you have 7 guys.
Uh-huh.
And how do you guys all stay in sync in communication? Are you guys using some sort of CRM, or do you guys do a daily meeting, or how does that look?
Typically, I make a pre-schedule on Sundays. That's kind of I know what's going to happen throughout the week. I give them a list each morning of what to addresses, but what to load up for each job. But a lot of times, my shop manager, I've already got given him the job lists for the upcoming landscape, and he'll actually stage it. So he'll put in the piles out here, and then label it like whether it's the last name or the address. And that way, when they get here, they can just load it up and go. Um, Shop manager has been definitely key. I mean, without him, he really frees me up, because if there's I typically am running around giving consults, and then I do the designs and I do the estimates. So he is really like my supply runner. If we are short a plant and we don't have it, he'll run to the nursery, get it. Or if we need an irrigation part, he just kind of runs around for me. But his main job is staying here at the shop and just keeping everything organized. Anybody that does any trade, you're working and things are getting thrown back in the truck or the trailer and, you know, misplaced. So he comes in every morning, checks all the trucks have the shovels are supposed to have, all the tools are supposed to have. He'll every Monday go through and check all the fluids, check the filters on everything, make sure everything's got oil, everything's greased and ready to go. So
Man, that is awesome right there. I love that role right there. And I was just actually talking to Mike. I think you might know him. He owns Creekside Outdoor Living over in Ohio. They do a lot of hardscaping mostly. And he was saying that he has a guy that has a similar role, right? His like that person's role in the shop is to keep all the mowers oiled, keep everything running smooth, make sure that all the trucks have enough tire in the air. I mean, have enough air in the tires. All those little things that we may overlook, that person's taken care of. So I can imagine that saves a lot of time, a lot of headache in the future as well.
yep.
And at what point would you recommend somebody to fulfill that role, or put somebody into that role? Because of course, if you do it too early, it probably wouldn't make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, it's just you get to a point where you're extending yourself too far, spreading yourself too thin. So you should recognize and know whenever you get to that point where you're like, okay, I need to hire someone else to help, stay on top of this. I used to run the crews, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, I need a supervisor, manage like foreman for each truck or whatever. So you get to the point where you know that you need another hand. But the
Man,
biggest thing is knowing when you need to level out and stop growing, because he said it's you get too big for your britches, and that's when you really start one losing your mind, but you lose money. But man, like I know too many friends that are in the businesses that have just you let the business own you instead of you owning the business, and then lose your marriage, you lose your family, you lose your mind, you even lose your life. I mean, I've heard stories of people, just the stress getting too much for them that they've ended their life.
Wow. Yeah, that's unfortunate, and that's definitely something that should be addressed. Man, yeah, that's a good point. And let me ask you a question there, because now you're at a point now where you are, would you consider yourself to be successful at the point that you are right now?
100%. But I don't gauge success as most people do with like a money aspect. Gauge success as your happiness, your family. I mean, I've always made it a vow that I will not miss anything of my daughter's, big or small. Work will never come before that. So, I mean, yes, I am successful in what I've accomplished with my company and where I'm at with it, but I think I'm more successful with what I've accomplished with my personal life and my family and just where I'm at.
I see what you mean. Yeah, and even if it's something big or small, I respect that. Yeah, the fact that yeah, your daughter comes first. Doesn't matter what you need to do to make it happen, you'll be there. So I like that.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you really gotta. When I was a smaller company coming up, I'd look at all these big companies that had, 5, 6 trailers or more, and I was just like, man, I can't wait to get big like that. I want to be big like that. And I was always counting, how much money I was making each day, and then like each week, and I was like adding it up, and it was just like, man, like if I can make this much money, and it really just comes down to finding the level of money that you want to make that you're good with. And I mean, some people it could be working nonstop 7 days a week, making all the money they can, so they're driving, the biggest, baddest, nicest, newest cars, the biggest house, you know, expensive clothes and watches, all that. But for me, that wasn't it. So I scaled back and I found that level of work and income that I was, happy with.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like it makes a lot of sense too, because if you're not into buying all these flashy things or all these materialistic things, then what's the point of you even working to make the money when you could take the extra time and put it into your family or into something that you enjoy, like more dancing.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And you know what? So let me ask you a question also. This is kind of a random one, but it just came to me because we just kind of on the same topic. So when we look at somebody like Warren Buffett, right? I believe he's 90 something years old, something around there, and he's been investing now. I don't know if he's in his 80s or what, but I know he's been investing over 70 years. So somebody like that has so much wealth, but he's not very materialistic at all. In fact, I've heard that he still uses used cars and stuff like that. What do you think about somebody like that? What's your opinion? Like, is it a waste of time? What do you think?
No, not necessarily. I mean, because I think with him, I mean, like you said, like he's not driving these huge fancy cars, and I know he donates a lot to charities and good causes. So, I mean, a lot of that, if you have the mindset to get big like that, I mean, you're providing jobs for so many families and people that are, rely on you for. So you're providing a lot for people. So it's just for me and my mental health stress level. Like I've always just lived up to the stay simple, stay happy. Whereas, I mean, some people can, Amazon owner, Mark Zuckerberg, all these people, they can handle it and get big like that. I've never had the desire drive to, but more props to them for being able to do that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And also, a good point is that, because I just thought about it. Also, it's like, yeah, those that, even though Warren Buffett doesn't spend that much money, or even though he doesn't do all these flashy things. I mean, the ones that earn the most are also the ones that give the most, right? Because they have the most to give. So I like that fact too. That even though he's not putting it into himself, he's doing it into bigger causes, right? For cancer or children that are in need. A fun fact, random fact that I heard about him too is that he's only going to leave about I think he said he's only going to leave like $1 million for each of his kids,
Hmm.
and then the rest would go to charity or something like that around those numbers, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah. The same thing with my. I've only got one daughter, and I mean we take care of her. I mean we reward her for good grades and that, but just like my dad did with me. I mean, she's gonna work, and we're not gonna give her handouts. We're not gonna buy her a brand new car when she turns 16. She's gonna earn it. It'll be one of those, I'll match you dollar for dollar. Whatever you work and rate, you save up, we'll match it dollar for dollar, and we'll help you buy your first car. But
Man, that is beautiful right there. That is beautiful, and that's a really good topic for us to cover, man. Being a parent and leading by example. So your daughter's 10 years old. So how old were you when you had your first daughter?
so I was right at 30 years old.
30 years old, and did it kind of catch you by surprise, or were you guys prepared and everything, or?
We were definitely planning. We were trying for it, but nothing will ever prepare you for becoming a parent. But it is the hands down best thing that'll ever happen to you. I don't know if you've got any, but man, like
No, no, I
until
don't have
you're
any kids yet, but
well,
tell me about it though.
I can tell you all day how awesome and how much your life will change. Like your life will actually begin the day you have a child, but until you're a part of the club, it it doesn't click until you have that kid. And once you do, you'll understand when you're a part of the club.
And a lot of people say that, yeah, it's probably one of those things that you can't really know what it's like until it actually happens.
Yep.
So that's awesome. But I love the discipline aspect that you're coming at it from, because that's how I want to be as well. Like, of course, I'm 24, and I'm for certain going to be I want to be a millionaire before I have any kids, and I want to be able to provide a great life for them. But I do not want them to be spoiled. I do not want them to be expecting handouts, like you said. That would be a nightmare. That would be I don't want that to happen. Like, I want them to grow up and be disciplined. Yes, have a good life, but still know how to work hard, how to be a good person without the money.
Yep. That's what's wrong with our society is all these kids are being given everything and they don't have to work or earn anything.
That is that is spot on right there. And Darren, so tell us a little bit more about your cowboy boot addiction.
So yeah, I started collecting about 10 years ago. And it's typically vintage boots only. And it's anything from snakes are my favorite, but I mean, I've got, your typical rattlesnakes, but cobra skin, python, all the way to
Whoa.
your lizards, which, tehu lizard, crocodile, alligator, even stingray, shark, elephant, giraffe. I mean, there's just all these exotics, which I will tell you, they're not poaching these animals, they're recycling. I mean, it's just like Native Americans would use every part of the bison. If an animal dies at the zoo or animal dies, I mean, you're trying to reuse anything and everything you can from it. Yeah, I'm up to about 70 pairs of cowboy boots now.
70 pairs. 70?
Yep, 70.
So that means 140 individual shoes
Yeah,
or cowboy boots, I should
cool.
say.
Yeah,
And
pretty
let
much
me ask
a
you then, so
sneakerhead for
where
cowboy
do you,
boots.
where do you store these boots, man?
Right now, I've kind of taken up two closets in our house. We have a spare bedroom and they're in there, but we're eventually going to build a pool house behind our pool that I would like to do some sort of cool display for them because some of them are like such collector items. I've got some bicentennial Justins that there's only so many made that you really like. I wear them every so often. It's usually like once a year, once every 2 years, but stuff like that I would really like to put up on display and just not touch because some of these boots will be worth quite a bit in another 30, 40, 50 years, and they're already 30, 40, 50 years old.
Whoa. So when were these boots made?
I mean, most of my boots Like I said, I love vintage. So there's anywhere from 70s to 80s.
So some of these precede you.
Oh yeah,
Wow. So I would imagine that. So I think you said you bought your first pair at 16. So I'm imagining that you probably got a decent pair around 20 that were pretty old. So man, I'm just trying to picture that. So let's say you're 20 years old and you buy a cowboy boot that's 20 years old as well. Like that boot was made the year you were born.
yep, oh yeah,
Man. And are these like I'm sure they were used though, right? Like there's no
oh
way they were
yeah,
just in a
yeah.
box somewhere.
They're actually better when you buy them vintage and used because they're already broken in and they're like real nice and they just fit. Whereas if you buy a new boot, they hurt your feet for a good month until they're broken in and the leather softens up, so they're ready to go for you.
Wow. And
And
what's
I
the
mean, I'm
guide
buying.
for buying a cowboy boot?
Oh yeah, I'm buying like 800, even $1,000 boots new. I'm buying them used from people that like realize, oh, I don't wear these, and I'm not paying more than $100 on average to $200 at most for these, you know, 800, $1,000 boots.
Wow. And you said you've got a couple that are like super like rare, like giraffe skin or something like that.
Yep. Sea turtle, which are pre-banned now. Like I said again, nobody gets upset. I mean, these are animals that were deceased and they are just repurposing anything they can. But you can't buy some of them anymore, like rhino skin. I've got a pair that are really hard to find. Um, Whale, and then like I
Whale,
said,
what the
the
hell?
sea turtle. I mean, like certain stuff is pre-banned now because they, as society got bigger, I mean, people were poaching and doing that type of stuff, so they just made it where it was no matter what illegal. So you can't even if the a rhino or a sea turtle dies in the zoo, they're not even letting you make boots out of them anymore just to make sure poaching doesn't occur.
Oh wow. So what does pre-ban mean? That like if somebody sees you with a rhino boot on, you'll get in trouble by the police or what?
Well, they're pre-banned, so like they're actually stamped and everything. So before they're were made before the ban, so you're okay to have them.
Ah, that's what that means. Pre-ban. But so that means that like right now you can't buy that anymore because it's banned to do.
Yep, no longer able to. That's why you gotta search and search and search the eBay and Etsy and Poshmark or wherever else you can search. And like I said, it's taken me well over 10 years to get my collection.
Man, that is awesome. And it's funny actually, random story. I built a website for a local leather repair company here and I was there taking some pictures for them for the website and somebody brought a sword in that needed to be repaired. The handle was made out of stingray. And I was like, "What?" But isn't that stuff super silky like their skin? I was so confused as to how they can make leather out of that.
Yeah, actually, my Stingray boots are my hardest. Like they don't give at all boots. So I don't know what they do, but I guess whatever they do to make the boot, it hardens so hard that it's like, I mean, it's soft.
That's pretty amazing. That's amazing how they can make all these things out of leather. Man, that is interesting. But man, so you know what, Darren? Can you give us some advice? So what advice would you give to, let's say, a younger company, right? A landscaper. He wants to get to the point where you are, where he's cutting out the middleman. He has his own plans, own mulch, own rocks, everything in bulk. But he's just a one man crew. How can he scale?
Um, I mean, if you're just one man crew, I mean, just do what you can that you enjoy. I mean, really, they say, choose a job that you love and you'll never work another day in your life. So just make sure that whatever you're doing, you love it. If you're doing it by yourself, I mean, make sure that you enjoy doing it. If you don't, then keep working at it until you can leave that and go to something else you do. I mean, I was waiting tables uh, as a in between, like I'd wait tables in the evenings and I'd mow during the day until I got busy enough where I didn't have to wait tables anymore. Because I mean, I'm sure anybody and everybody that's ever waited tables. I mean, it's just that's a hella high stress job dealing with some customers. Um, we got to where I could mow, and then finally got to the point where I got rid of mowing because I hated mowing too. I liked it better than waiting tables, but it was too routine or too redundant for me. Where I love the creativity in landscaping of it's almost an art. I mean, I've got a blank canvas and I'm painting with my shovel. So it's just I mean yeah, finding what you truly love and doing that every day. You won't ever work another day in your life.
Love it, love it, love it. And then what would you say if it's somebody that has a four-man crew and he's thinking that he wants to add on another 10 employees within the next 2 years? What would you say to somebody like that?
And biggest thing is slow and steady sales. I've seen too many people get big, go big too fast. I've just always been a firm believer in just slow and steady sales you'll get to where you're going. Um, you know, make a goal of adding one or two guys a year for the next 5 years and adding a truck every year or two. But man, just take it nice and slow like Usher.
Man, that is awesome. And Darren, so if the audience wanted to get in contact with you, whether it's to ask you a question about where to get their first cowboy boots or where who the best supplier is or just some advice, mental health, where can they reach you?
Really, Instagram would be the best way. My at the Bearded Landscaping Cowboy handle.
Gotcha. Well, guys, there we guys have it. If you guys have any questions on cowboy boots or mental health or just landscaping advice, if Darren is open to it, you guys can reach out to him, man. This guy's an awesome person. He's look at him. I mean, this guy's living the dream. He's got a 10-acre lot. He's got his own trees, his own mulch. This guy's living the life. So anything that he can do for you guys, definitely reach out to him. Anything that I can do for you guys, reach out to me. And Darren, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Digital Toolbox, man. Do you have any closing thoughts out for the audience?
That's it. Thank you for having me.
Boom, let's do it. Darren, thank you so much, my friend. Audience, hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next one. Peace.
Y'all have a good one.